We are currently sitting at 45% of women in this Parliament, and this is progress, but there remain areas where significant improvement is required. And I have spoken in this chamber before about the challenges that I face as a woman in politics. And I'd like to use this opportunity not to get into the finer points of the bill, but to raise this issue once more and contribute to a conversation on mitigating some of the barriers, both through the current reforms and into the future. Because there are barriers up against women in politics and across national and local government, from sexist abuse to childcare or caring responsibilities to demanding unpredictable schedules that we've already mentioned today, to low pay in local government, to name but a few. Historically, politics has been dominated by men, and this has led to men being considered as the default figures in politics. Globally, we see young women leaders not being taken seriously. When Jacinda Ardern and Sanna Marin met on official business in New Zealand, journalists asked if the reason behind the meeting was their shared age and gender. And would such a question have been put had they been male Prime Ministers? I don't think so. We need to reduce barriers to women not only standing for office but remaining in politics. Studies show that women are more likely to leave elected office sooner than their male counterparts, and often when they do so, they return to constituency level voluntary work. However, men, on the other hand, are more likely to move on to other professional political roles. Local government is a key pipeline into national politics, and I probably wouldn't be here today had I not stood for election to Stirling Council in 2017. However, research shows us that the typical councillor in Scotland is an able-bodied white man in his 50s. There are many barriers to women entering politics, and some are more difficult to address than others. In their report, Making It Happen for 2027, Engender, Elect Her and Women 50-50 recommend increasing councillor remuneration as a key step in making standing for council or local government more tenable for women. And this reform offers an opportunity to do so, and one which I think we should take. Yes, I will.
Alexander Stewart.
You comment on remuneration, and I think that is very important. I had the privilege of being a councillor myself for 18 years before I came here. And during that time, remuneration was a massive issue. And I do believe that it does stop younger and female candidates coming forward, because the remuneration that they receive is not enough to then do other roles and responsibilities if that is the only thing they can do. And the taking on a role of a councillor is not a short time. It can be even more lengthy than the job we do here.
Evelyn Tweed.
I would completely agree with the member's contribution. I think remuneration is very important, and I think we need to consider that further for young people, for women, and also the point that a lot of people think that a councillor is a part-time job, and it's just not. The councillors in the chamber, including yourself, will know that. It's a full-time job. If you want to do the councillor's job well, it's full-time. Yes, I would,
Stephen
Mr. Kerr.
Time. Does the member think that the time has come for us to consider reform of local government? I mean, I know it's not part of this consultation, but in a way, the member's comments, which I agree with, lead us to a point where we have to consider the number of councillors, number of councils, functions. Is it time that we looked at that again?
Evelyn Tweed.
Thank you for your intervention. I think it's a good point, well made, possibly for another day. So, as a councillor, I ran surgeries in far-flung and remote places, which Mr Kerr will know. He knows the size of the patch that I worked. I would turn up into empty halls. I had no mobile signal. My location was widely advertised. And basically, I didn't feel safe. When I raised this with the council, their response was to ask if my husband knew where I was? And would he notice if I did not return? This was not quite the response that I was looking for, and it would actually be funny if it was not so serious. I think that is a barrier to women running and staying in local politics, and I think it's one that needs to be seriously looked at by councils. I'm not saying all the councils are the same, because I've heard from other people that they get very good support, but locally for me, I didn't. Also, when I asked colleagues, male colleagues, for help on that point, I wasn't given it. So I don't know if that was because they felt that it was not manly to ask for that support, but I think that's something that we definitely need to look at. I look forward to seeing how these reforms will put support in place to encourage women to stand for office and stay in office. Engender also calls for quotas to ensure gender parity amongst candidates, and this remains a reserved matter, but I call on the Government to continue to raise this with Westminster, to share the benefits that these measures bring and to make a case for devolution of these powers. This reform also offers an opportunity to shore up protection for candidates, and we have spoken about that earlier in the debate. Generally speaking, women are significantly more likely to experience harassment and abuse than men, and this risk only increases in public-facing roles. Women in politics are under scrutiny from the press and face abuse both online and off over their personal lives and their appearances. The risk is even further compounded for minoritised women with colour, disabled women and members of the LGBTQ+ community experiencing disproportionate levels of abuse and harassment. In the current reform of the legislation around intimidation and beyond, we must take the gender dynamics of intimidation and harassment seriously. How can we expect more equal representation if we cannot ensure safety? We have an opportunity here in Scotland to use these reforms to show that we value diverse voices, that everyone, regardless of age, gender, race or disability, has a place in politics. It's an opportunity that we must take. Thank you.